And then, Cameron and
Larry,
Larry are gonna be on Zoom.
they're gonna be on Zoom?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, thank you for that.
Hold on, I gotta, make sure they're.
Are they there? No.
Larry and Cameron are both online.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to welcome everyone to the July 16th Planning Commission work meeting. And today we have present, Lee Ballard, Ken Peterson, and myself, Doreen Pope. And online, we have Larry, can you hear me?
Larry, you're muted, you gotta unmute.
There.
And- Yes,
I'm here.
okay, good, great. And Cameron, can you hear me?
Cameron, you're muted too, you gotta unmute.
I just want to make sure that that's working for them before we start.
Thank
All right, thank you, Cameron. All right, and before we, as a courtesy to everyone, please silence your phones. And before we begin with item 1, please note item 6 on the agenda. Since the sponsor of the sensitive lands ordinance is not able to be physically present, the commission has moved this discussion of the sensitive lands ordinance to our August work meeting. All right, and with that, let us start. The first item on our agenda tonight is the Palmer rezone. And let's see what our commissioners have and thoughts on this. Would anyone like to begin?
I'll say that, forgive me if I don't remember exactly. Oh, I guess we didn't speak about this before.
No, this is the first time, yes.
If we vote on this, I hope that we make it very clear to them that commercial uses can't go more than 400 feet from the highway.
That is a big concern of mine. There was an ordinance, and I wish someone was here, they may be online. But I want them to be aware that May of 2025, the town council approved new language for 40.06, indeed for all locations in each zone. And it now says, commercial zone includes any parcels currently zoned commercial at the time of adoption of this ordinance. Commercial zone property shall have frontage on the state Route 9, and uses shall extend a maximum of 400 feet back from SR 9 right of way and may not extend across the river. And so, some of this parcel, if you look at the map of the parcel, goes anywhere from pretty close to 400, to anywhere from over 700 at the west end.
I think it's 800.
And then 800 and change, at the east end. Right?
That sounds right.
And it would require access on Highway 9, and I see that they have quite a portion there on Sheep Ridge, and I would have liked to know more about the why behind that. So, that's a concern of mine about this, and it's not that I don't think that area of land could potentially be very valuable commercial. And I very much appreciate their, commitment to preserving those significant washes. And they're fortunate in that they've got over 1,000, I would say, to the next street is over 2,000 feet on Highway 9, but we'd have to figure the entrance from, not the port, the trading post. The port, not the trading post, next to the
They
Zion
would talk to
Highway.
you directly.
Yeah, but from the corner of Sheep Bridge, there's,
Plenty of space.
I think they would not have the access problem that some properties have had in the past. So there's that. And then the other thing I always like to consider is, what are the allowed commercial uses and what are the conditional commercial uses? And as I go through these, here are my questions, and maybe the commissioners online or in person could give their thoughts on this. Currently, we don't have, a bike store or shop or rental as part of commercial use. It's only a highway resort. And would we want to do that? You know, that's something for us to think
Well,
about.
there's a big difference between a bike shop,
Yeah, so we would
repair or sales and a rental place.
rental, so we need to know more, right? But I think they need to be aware that currently that's not a permitted
Right.
or conditional use in that zone. Not that it won't ever be, but it's not currently is. And then I was puzzled when they said that, some of the residents around the area said that they have been using, the area they want to use as a maintenance yard, as a maintenance yard. And I was puzzled by that. Is that a commercial use? Because it's not an allowed residential, rural residential use. I don't know if they have a special agreement. You know, I was just curious about that. And, but either way, that also is not a listed permitted or conditional use. And how do we want to handle that? And, and I'm just curious around why they came so far down Sheep Bridge Road. And that's why I was thinking, well, maybe they want to have an access there. That's why I wanted them to hear the language of our current code on that issue.
Yeah, I think it's important that they understand what the zoning is, because they might have all sorts of plans
Yeah.
that don't fit in the ordinance, so just judging.
And it's
by
not
the
that I want to say no, I mean, we are in the process of updating our permitted
Mhm.
and conditional and prohibited uses. So it might be a good time to have that discussion. And my last question is, we do allow for a general store, and I just don't know what kind of grocery store we're considering, but I want them to be aware that currently a grocery store, it might fit in under general store, but once again, do we want to hear more about it and then adapt our code? All things to consider. Any other thoughts? Those are all my thoughts.
Where do we go from here?
So today's discussion, and then I'm scheduling this for a vote in August at our regular meeting. It's had public hearing, and we've had some people for it, some people against it. And, but before I went over concerns of people, I wrote those down here, I believe. I wanted to make sure, that if any commissioner has any other thoughts. Kent,
You covered it well.
Lee,
Just, thinking about what, they're gonna wanna know what uses they can do on the remainder piece. So, I would think that we might talk to them about the overlay that we've been talking about. It might be kind of cool if they could do two-family houses there or something. Anyway, that's all.
yes, it's not clear cut. Larry, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's a great piece for commercial use. I'm not sure why we're discussing the use today or the access today, because that should have no bearing on whether or not we decide if it's gonna be commercial. Access is through UDOT, not us, unless they use the access off of Sheep's Bridge. But again, that's not for us to worry about today. It's just whether or not that piece fits in with with the surroundings, and after reading the overwhelming response on the where should commercial be and the general plan questionnaire, overwhelmingly it was along the 9, so this would be ideal for that. It's on a major corner, it's got great frontage, it's surrounded by commercial. There will be a gap between the back of the 400 feet and existing residential, so I think it's a very likely spot for commercial zoning.
And what are your thoughts about it extending significantly further than 400 feet?
Well, if the code says it can only go 400 feet, then that's as far back as we can approve it without changing the ordinance, so. And I don't know that we can do that in this vote or on this. We'd have to have a hearing, and so, we can approve it up to 400 feet and then they'll have to decide what they want to do with the back half of that.
All right, thank you, Cameron. What are your thoughts?
So it's my understanding that the code doesn't say commercial can't extend beyond 400 feet. My understanding is the code says that the uses cannot extend past 400 feet. And so I don't, again, when we're looking at a zone change, it's nice that they put together an idea of what they're going to do. But really, when we're looking at the zone change, we're looking at, does this fit with the general plan? Does it fit with the location as described in our code? That's the things I'm looking at. And it seems to me that it does fit with those. As for access and uses and what they can and can't do and when or where they can do those things on the parcel, that's a discussion for a later time. I mean, all those concerns are valid and need to be addressed, but to address those, we actually need to have real plans and and a real idea of what's going to happen there. Anything other than, real genuine plans is just speculation. And so right now we're just looking at the zone change. And so it fits with our current general plan. It seems to fit with what we're hearing for our new general plan. It's surrounded by commercial on pretty much all sides. It's surrounded by commercial except for the back. As for the 400 feet, right, their uses will stop at 400 feet. And, that's going to create a nice buffer that they will have to figure out what to do with. And I don't think it's our place to say, well, we're just going to zone you for 400 feet because that's where the uses can go. I don't think that's appropriate. Because it doesn't say the zone cannot be more than 400 feet. It just says the uses can extend past there. So, I don't see any problem with rezoning this. I mean, their application looked good. It seems to comport with everything we have in front of us. So.
Thank you.
Can I say, I agree. I don't see anything that would prevent us from sending it on. I just want to make sure they understand, what their options are and are not, so.
They need to understand that they cannot have commercial uses on anything beyond 400 feet and anything that is not above the highway.
Right.
And that should be a discussion that's had between them and the zoning administrator and the DRC and not necessarily planning and zoning, right? We have full-time staff that can handle that can inform them of what they can and can't do and what the rules look like and what they actually say. I don't think we need to make any special effort or go out of our way to do that. I think that's town staff's job, and hopefully they've already done it, and hopefully they're already aware of those restrictions that they might not, they might not like, obviously.
And then there was concern by several people. One specifically Mr. Halleck mentioned, he got clarification on the shape. Why it was that, as he put it, I believe, in weird shape. He read a statement of his concerns. He's worried about the increase in traffic and the danger, environmental impact, the runoff. And in that, he mentioned the little flycatcher and, the gentleman, I have his name right here. Here we go. Jake, I believe it was.
Who are you, whose name are you,
The gentleman, the engineer.
Jared?
Jared, yeah. He said that it was not a habitat for little flycatcher, and I said I would clarify that. And, I actually did that, and there was an active nest in 2024 there. Per Christian Edwards, Southwestern Little Flycatcher League with DWR. So, that's something that we need to be aware of moving forward. And, part of the beauty of having commercial not exceed behind 400 feet is we do protect the river, from the runoff of increased impermeable surfaces. So that I think is, I don't know, I sent our summary sheet in which I summarized everybody who spoke, point, and the one letter we got, in our folders was very similar arguments to Mr. Howell's, has similar concerns. Okay, I do believe our new lighting ordinance would address his concerns about lighting. And I know we are in the process of updating our noise ordinance. We are not doing that, someone else is, and
But we
Mr.
addressed
Kelly is. Yeah, we
haven't addressed in one of the ones suspending, so.
Yeah, and it is, yes, it's covered multiple times, hopefully. So hopefully that will address that, and then I have. And I thought Mr. Halleck had some very, and this relates to noise and time of delivery kind of things. And I know we don't necessarily make a decision on the rezone based on that stuff, but it's good to know that I always appreciate when a developer has some ideas, so that we can where gardens currently stand. So they know what our ordinances are, and so we see our ordinances protecting our residents and helping this business person doing both.
I have yet another comment.
Yes, ma'am.
When we talk about a zone change, we don't just look at whether it fits the code, because it's a legislative decision, and so we really have to give weight to what the people think. And also, we have to consider uses, because if we don't consider what the impact of the largest, most impactful use allowed in the zone does, then we could be stuck in the end. Not that they're going to do that, or that anybody does, but I think it does happen in the world. So, yeah, whatever the most intensive use is what we have to consider whether it works there. But anyway.
That's why I brought up,
hard to repeat.
there's a general store the same as a grocery store, and, what kind of grocery store, I mean, there's a small one. And then there could be a franchise.
Yeah, well, what's the maximum building size? That would.
Yeah. All right, okay. So thank
So,
you.
so let me clarify real quick. I never said that we shouldn't consider uses. I said that it's great they presented what they wanted to do, but we shouldn't consider those. We should consider uses. With any type of rezone, we should consider the uses that are listed, not the uses presented. So I'm sorry if I'm
Yes.
unclear with was unclear with that.
Yeah, we're all on the same page on that. I always,
Now,
in fact, I looked at those uses.
now to clarify, and someone was asking, why is this lot so weirdly shaped? Well, the lot was weirdly shaped. It's just been that way forever. And so that's why the lot is unusual shaped, probably because it used to be, much of it used to be a field. And so it ended up in a strange configuration because of that.
I'm sure that little jog is something weird about history, but, actually they partitioned it in that shape,
Yeah,
recently.
yeah, because it was originally all one big lot.
But there must be something topographic, anyway,
Yeah.
some reason why they made it. I don't know.
Yeah. All righty, any other thoughts by anyone on that item before we move on to our next one? And I put the Virgin Future Land Use Map into, ooh, and Kevin has a really big poster for us. Sorry, Cameron, sorry, Larry. We'll save them for you.
So I'd also like to, you know, as far as like properties that would, as far as, you know, commercial places in town, like this piece has some of the least impact on homes as any piece in town.
Yes, I see that as well,
It's-
Karen.
It's farther away, it's more isolated, it's surrounded by more commercial. I mean, you know, as far as pieces go, this is a pretty, you know, low impact to residents piece. Not to belittle those that, you know, have a higher impact, like those across Sheep's Bridge Road. You know, their impact's a little bit higher, or, you know, I'm not downplaying or belittling any of that. I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, looking at this and other pieces, it's pretty low impact on residents.
I agree, and I think it would be nice if we considered that it's sort of the gateway to town. You know, it's one of the first things people see.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out that there is that piece, and that is why I cited code that is on Sheep Bridge, because it
Yes.
fronts Sheep Bridge, and that does go against our code.
Well,
But
No, there's nothing against there's nothing that says a commercial property can't touch Sheep's Bridge Road. There's nothing in our code that says that.
as long as it also fronts the highway, which it does.
fronts,
No, it says the piece must front the highway. There's nothing in our code that says it can't touch any other road.
that's true.
So touching the Chiefs Bridge is not against our code. Now you may say, oh, they want to put their primary entrance back there. Well, that's probably not going to be allowed, but that's a discussion for a later time, right? So you know,
Well, and it would be at the 400 feet, it would not impact that area on Sheep Bridge Road.
right after 400 feet, you can't have any uses. You have to
Right.
eliminate your uses after 400 feet, right?
Correct. So that would solve that
It's
issue.
a non-problem.
So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah. So when I measured it, this is about where the 400 stopped right here. This is maybe a little below this one here. It was like, pretty sure this is densely stopped, or maybe right here. It's right under there. Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so item number 2, the map for the general plan. And I want everyone to look at this map and see if you see anything that needs to be fixed. I see a few things. And let me pull up the last adopted map that has all the new stuff in. Opposite Desert Garden, that commercial, I don't believe is commercial. It is still rural residential.
Oh, yeah, right. On the south side of the highway.
And in this big yellow square, Kevin,
Yes.
this one is still open space. And this one is open space. The rest is rural residential, but this little one here remains open space at this time.
And And this.
No, and then this light pink, we close that zone, so it's, or
It's all
light,
highway.
it's all highway resort. And then,
So I agree with you that's the way it is. I think the town should look at rezoning that little piece to rural residential because first of all, it doesn't fit the requirements of open space because it's so small. So
it's
though I do
48.
agree that it's currently open space, the town should probably look at rezoning that
And then,
before the map goes out.
Crystal, this area here is also highway resort. I'm looking at the map you gave me, I scanned it in. Is this commercial or highway
It's
resort?
all highway resort.
This is highway resort. So from here, in here.
Yeah. This. This.
And then
And then we just rezoned.
the town, it,
Oh, that's already rezoned.
yeah, I just rezoned that.
Yep.
That's
Commercial.
Mhm.
I can't
And
find.
then, I think we got these, correct,
Pretty hard.
right?
Did you find it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got those, okay.
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 And then there was.
Oh, what's her name? I think it's right here. He's got,
Yeah, that little one right there.
yeah,
He's got it.
that's right, and that's.
No, that's,
He's got it over.
Yeah.
it comes
The
back.
most recent ones we have, yeah, ones that were in the
But
past.
where is it? This is beyond that, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah, but this comes from like here.
Yeah.
And then it starts.
And you
like
can take
here.
this.
Yeah, it starts like
it has to, I proved
here.
that there's problems.
And then all
That's
the way.
on these, right?
Well, it's an
And
RS
this
20,
sliver
it's
is
an RS 2477 road,
These
which
all
means
partial
it's
lines.
private land, it's been used so long that it becomes a public easement. So really all the people on both sides of it own the road.
Larry or Cameron, do you see any, based on your, especially Cameron, based on your knowledge of, the town map, is there anything else that stands out to you?
This is maybe.
I'm not sure about that, I think that.
I don't have access to the share folder anymore. I lost it last month, and so I haven't seen the new map.
Okay, so do you want me to email that to you?
That's fine.
And
Yeah.
then,
Or
If
or
you-
you know, I'm sure this isn't the only time we're going to discuss it. So
correct.
you know, I'm not. I don't get. I'm not too worried about. I'm not too worried about it at this point. I mean, we need to start
Well, I
making
just-
corrections, but
I just know that you have
Oh, for.
a good history of knowledge of it, and I wanna make sure you get your eyes on it.
And that's why this line is here, it was 700 and over that was rezoned.
So it's not a partial line, it's just a line, it's that line. Okay.
Yeah, because they could only rezone from
East.
700, I believe 700 and over. And that's why that's that line that was there,
Okay.
imaginary line if you want to
And then-
say.
On this map, you know, and Cameron, this is one thing I'd like you to, we removed something up here. I think that's reflected on this. Well, highway.
The one thing that,
Oh,
the road is gone.
This is all dark purple.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the resort area, we
Right.
got rid of the resort area, and it's just high.
So you're saying there's no pocket over
Right. It's not really on the map. There's you can see where it begins. And then it turns into that little neighborhood of like where the crops are and.
This is more. This is up.
And then it meets the Terrace Road up above.
You know, pull up your map that I gave you.
And this was last year's.
Yeah, see all the red right here? You're missing all this red right here.
What's
Probably this street here.
Where the, where,
This is River Road.
right,
This is all commercial here. Right there.
And then we just rezoned
Oh,
right
the
here across
halls,
the
the
street, the
halls.
whole, the
Yeah.
halls right there. That's commercial.
So you might need to get with this very young lady.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah.
Cold water somewhere.
Yeah, but then we're already with.
Yeah.
I'll grab it.
So I was able to find some things. And don't let me forget, and, at the town council meeting, there were some changes to the ordinances we sent them. I thought I took them, some of those, and I just want to go over them with the commission before we adjourn tonight. Anybody else have any thoughts, comments?
Is the, I mean, is the Hockenville Road on here? If it's not on here.
Pocketville Road is, yeah,
Sure.
right there. This is Pocketville Road right here.
Yes, oh no, see where it goes blue? That turns into a neighborhood, but the road continues up here and meets this road.
Right. There's no dedicated right of way, that's my condition.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that's what I was just saying.
Should we include
It
it?
might be helpful to see it, but
I could put a line on there or,
a line that isn't a road line, maybe?
well, just a center line.
Yeah.
Within that line.
Okay.
That or thinner, just a line.
Oh, you know exactly.
So because it's not, indicated, then you have restrictions as to how you map it, or
No, this layer.
Yeah, that's your special.
Space.
This is special makers.
No, eventual.
If it's a dedicated right of way, it shows up. If it's
And
not,
this is
then
correct.
it's just.
Yeah,
parts
this is
of it
correct.
there. There's a roadway layer that will probably show it. This is correct.
So, okay.
Yeah.
It's just kind of easier to figure out which property is which, but it doesn't matter. There.
Oh, this was the other one.
Yeah, just this. Here,
The other way to, that we could address that is if I could do transportation map, but it show. We could do a transportation map, just show the road.
Yeah, we could have more than one map.
Yeah,
We have a transportation map, right? Somewhere.
probably has,
From our study.
yeah, your study.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could include one
yeah,
in here.
yeah.
wait, what's the,
This one.
there's a few right here.
I have a feeling our Zoomers can really tell what's happening.
Right, sorry, what's that?
This is real design.
Oh, wait, is that the halls?
Yes,
Oh, that's the halls.
yeah, so we did get some. all.
Oh, it is there, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't have what information about. So sorry, not right here, so right here. Did they do this parcel too?
Read that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not this, not this piece right here.
Just the piece.
So just this piece right here.
Right, okay.
Would a highlighter show
Yeah.
I'll make.
Sorry,
so I'll
you
combine
can't
it.
see this camera.
That
Just
works.
make Sure, it's good.
Okay.
And you were just talking about a rezone here as you heard, so that.
Right.
So do you have everything that you need on that?
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you. And I'll, as soon as I find out about that other thing, I will let you know, Kevin.
Okay, I will be out of town the August, you know,
The mid-August.
right, August 8th through the 24th. So,
August 8th. So at our meetings, so you won't be.
yeah, I won't be here.
Right, that's okay, we have a writer coming to our August working.
Okay.
That'll work out, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep.
All right. So number 3, we're discussion on, the ordinance clarifying at uses not listed as permitted or conditional or prohibited. And would anyone like to start with their thoughts?
I would. I think that because of sort of the direction that case law is going and stuff, that we need to have a procedure in the ordinance, for what people do if they want to request an unlisted use. And we don't want them to go to DRC because that costs money and it might end up having to do a lot of work that that would be pointless if they weren't allowed to do the use. Anyway, I think we need to work on that, but in the meantime, this is what's recommended, so I think we need to do it.
And I think it was the work meeting last week for the town council, this topic came up. I clarified with them that we had not sent this on to them, but they were discussing it. But Keith Snow said, we need to both update our permitted, conditional, and prohibited uses and include this language. So this would get that first step done as we do the other steps. And there is a process. And it's the same process, if I read it correctly in this ordinance, that if they did go to the DRC would tell them this. If it was not a listed use, but they need to come to planning commission. This just sends them to us first.
And I mean, I don't think they can simply walk in on the DRC and.
Well, they can be asked to be put on it. And then when they make that presentation, because this is what's happened when I sat in on these, they're told, you need to talk to planning and zoning.
Right, but did we just, we're talking about doing something that would prevent that, because it's still, it makes them come up with drawings and all kinds of stuff in order to make their presentation. And, so I think it's important to save them wasting any time and the time and money that it takes to hold a DRC meeting, because there's a lot of professionals in there. And so I think it's important not to waste anybody's time or money in this when it isn't necessary.
And then I had a note that Mr. Lacoste was concerned that he wouldn't be able to do his project, but he would simply have to do what he's already doing.
What he's hard to do, because it's the same situation.
And that was our intent.
I have a question.
Sure.
So,
Cameron,
yeah,
did
I'm here.
you have some comments and concerns about this?
So whether we pass this or not, it's really not. This is an old school way of doing things that the courts have, primarily, not in every case, but in almost all cases, shot down as not the appropriate way to deal with uses. So I read a lot about it. I didn't make it to the meeting to see what Heath said about it, but I imagine he said similar things to what I'm telling you. So what case law says, if a use is not specifically listed as prohibited, but there is a similar use listed as conditional or permitted, case law has held that the landowner has a right to that use. So
I agree with that.
yeah, so there's no, we cannot say you can't go to the DRC, you can't go to our staff and apply for this use, because if the staff, like the lawyer, looks at it and he says, oh, you're asking for this use and it is similar to this use right here that's listed in our ordinance, so therefore you are you are allowed to do this thing because it is similar to a use that is listed and it's not specifically prohibited. So I, whether we pass this or not, I don't think makes much difference, but we must allow people to go to the DRC and look at uses and apply, make application specifically for permitted uses, if they're not specifically prohibited. If we do not, we are denying them their rights.
And Keith, for the very ambiguity that you mentioned, said we should do both. Have a robust list of permitted, conditional, and prohibited uses and this language.
Right, right. I'm not saying we don't need this language. I'm not saying that at all. This language is fine. What I'm saying is this language provides little to no protection with the way our ordinance sits now, because we almost have no uses listed as prohibited. Since they did away with the table, we almost have no uses listed as prohibited.
There's all the
So
same uses are in the ordinances as was in the table. Unless they were not changed in the ordinance. and just in the table.
there was a bunch of uses listed in the table that were also listed as prohibited in other zones. For example, if it said, for one example would be campground. It was listed as prohibited in every zone except for the highway resort zone. It was listed as prohibited in that table. Now, I think it is still listed as prohibited in commercial, but it's not listed in residential, right? So there were uses in that table that were prohibited by the table, but weren't listed outright in each ordinance. And so we've gotten rid of what protection we did have by having a more expansive prohibited list.
I would suggest that we consider a large ordinance that would go through all the uses in all the zones. And that would explain how someone would go about applying for an unlisted use that was similar to one in the ordinance. And I think that the person to decide that, probably not, it would probably have to be we're going to have a director of what? Community development. And that would naturally be his job, but in the meantime, I think it should be us or maybe the attorney.
I'm looking at the old chart and not seeing that. And I remember going through this chart very carefully to make sure that everything was in the
If you look at that chart, it had each use, and then it had a list, and then it had the zones, right? Like a spreadsheet, it had the zones, and it had either a conditional, a permitted, or a prohibited letter in that block. And so there was, I'm not saying it was an all expansive list, but there was a list of that's bigger than what we have now.
I think the conclusion we're all coming to is that we need to immediately start on the
Correct.
ordinance that would go through all the uses and explain how to do this request for an unlisted.
But I also think, we were supposed to have looked at commercial, I believe,
Right.
and come up with suggestions and one that comes to my mind for commercial. And we have to be careful how we phrase this because of that similar use, is something with bicycle. Because there are multiple people who have mentioned in commercial that they would like some kind of a bike shop.
Yeah.
And that is not a listing.
And we are really the place for, we're like a cycling mecca here, really.
Correct.
So, of course, if we allow rentals, we would want that to happen.
And we did pass an ordinance, about, class 1 and 2
Yeah,
e-bikes.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna double check this chart. I still have the chart, Karen, so I'm gonna just make sure, we'll follow through and make sure that something's not, if there's something is, we need to put it back in.
Not that we don't have very intelligent people that on our commission can come up with lots of lots of items for each category. Wouldn't it be wise to look at some other communities that have already gone through this?
yes. How we do it.
Wow.
It's got a well and water right.
I actually have a list of prohibited uses in other towns,
Yeah,
because I was worrying about this and
Yeah.
thinking we need to beef up our prohibited uses. And so, I mean, I looked at a bunch in the area and I made a long list of the things that other towns have prohibited.
and then cross-check that for prohibited and permitted and conditional with results of the general plan
Yes.
or the general survey, you know.
So not to bring it back to this ordinance though, I don't think anyone's in disagreement that, hey, some wording like this is fine, but it's not like all encompassing and it's not going to hold a lot of water. I think everyone is in agreement on that,
It's a first step.
but I come back to if it's not listed, specifically listed, they can't go to the DRC. That language is not appropriate, because if they're doing something that is not listed but similar to a permitted use that's on there and it's not specifically prohibited, they should be able to go to the professionals, the DRC, and get a professional opinion on whether they can do that. Right? They should be able to go and meet with the lawyer and the town manager and the zoning administrator, and they should be able to look through the ordinance and say, oh yeah, you're right. This use is not specifically listed. It's not specifically prohibited, and it is similar to this other use. You can proceed with this project.
Right, my suggestion, I mean, I think that's correct, and I guess it doesn't you're right, it doesn't expressly say that once you get a decision from the, what's he called? Community Development Director?
Director of Community Development.
Okay, I said it backwards. Once you get the all clear from that, then you can certainly go to the DRC. But we should maybe, I mean, I guess we could fix that. I mean, we don't have a director of community development yet, so, that's kind of a problem, and I think that with the.
Yeah, we don't have that yet. When we have that, you can say, hey, before you go to the DRC, you can just make that a rule that they have to go to the community director or whoever in the staff to ensure. But right now we don't have that. So right now, all we have is the DRC. So my only hang up with this ordinance is not allowing people to go there. And even if we had a community director, you still can't have that language in there that says they can't go, because if he made the decision that, yeah, this is appropriate, you can go to the DRC, well, our ordinance says he can't make that decision. So that's my holdup with this ordinance.
I think you're right, we should, amend it to,
Or get keys to input.
okay, well, I mean, we can put an amendment in there that says if they have gotten the all clear from either the attorney or the director of community development, then they may go on to the.
My neighbor.
Right?
Did you hear that, Kevin? I don't know, there's,
I did.
You have your speaker on, but there's quite a bit of noise in the background, so I can't always hear.
I did hear that. I did hear that, and I don't understand why we need any of that language in there. all we need, I'm sorry, all we need in there is, hey, they have to follow the process, the application process like anyone else. And if the application process is first you go to this person and they make a determination and then they go to the DRC, well, they just need to follow that application process. Like, I don't understand why we have to have this language at all.
Well, the
If
problem,
if the use is not listed, they should go through the application process. And if the application process needs changed, then we should change the application process. Does that make sense?
it's different for all different things. The problem that we're trying to avoid is somebody, going directly to the DRC, getting together doing all kinds of work and maybe even hiring professionals to do drawings and et cetera. And then going to the DRC and having the DRC simply tell them, sorry, this is not a listed use, you have to go to the planning commission first, which is what they say right now. In the future, we're trying to make them, we need to fix it so that instead of going to the planning commission, they go to the
No, I can,
staff member.
I can, sorry if I'm interrupting because the lag and stuff, but I completely understand the problem and the thing we're trying to fix. What I'm saying is the way this should be fixed is by fixing the application process and not putting more words in our ordinance. The application process should always be, you get an initial approval from whoever before you're scheduled to go to the DRC. Like, that should be the application process for everyone. Like, there should be someone vetting that meeting.
Okay, we could do that in every, procedure, list of procedural steps. Or we would simply fix this to say that, and then it would be covered.
No,
I mean, we
no,
could add 6 words and it would cover the situation you're imagining.
but we should fix the procedural steps. That's the problem. The problem is not our ordinance. The problem is the procedure. Let's not try to do a backdoor fix to the procedure. Let's just get town council to fix the procedure. Then if they want to change the procedure and down the road, we're not making a land use change. We should be guiding land use, not the procedure for people to get their land use, if that makes sense. So, though I agree with you, we need to fix the problem, I don't think this is how we fix the problem.
I think we do come up with a few procedures.
Can't we, seems to me like there's a both here at the present time. That there's a kind of urgency to fix, the prohibited, non-prohibited, et cetera, list. And then there's a strong need and similar urgency that town council, if that's who should be doing it, puts together and fixes the procedure, because I agree with the fact that we ought to have permit procedure that a person goes through step. And now we're arguing kind of about, well, where does that step start? And where does the procedure step start, and where does the ordinance of the list of yay and nays start? It sounds like we got two different things here to me. And which one's the priority? They both seem important to me, but if you think, Cameron, that there's a problem with procedure, let's write up what we need, what we feel we need to do to fix that, while someone is writing up a list of the things that we need to put on the list for the future development director.
Yes, yes, Ken. Yeah, yes, Ken. I agree with you on that, right? So it's our job to look at the uses and make them prohibited and and permitted and conditional, however we're making them. What I'm saying is it's not our job to fix the problem of people spending a bunch of money to go to the DRC just to be rejected. That's not our job. That's not our job to fix. That's either town council or that might even just be a staff thing that needs to happen, right? I'm I'm just saying let's focus on our job and get our job done and stop trying to fix other people's problems. Because in the end, it just makes things more complicated when we add a little fix here and we add a little fix here to the land use code instead of letting whoever's problem it is fix their problem.
That's, sometimes it is the land use code's problem. I would be very interested in getting our town attorney's view on this.
Okay.
Um,
I just wanted to point out that many of the procedures, the subdivision procedure, the conditional use procedure, they're all things that were done by the planning commission
Correct.
and which is our job to fix because it's in the land use code. So, yes, staff things could be done to fix this problem, but it'd be nice if there was some notice given to people looking at the land use code as to, you know, whether or not they should take the jump of getting on the DRC agenda. So anyway, I just don't think this hurts.
Is
And
it-
I think it could also be removed once we had,
improved procedure.
yeah.
I think that, and that's why I'm looking at the ordinance now, because I'm like going, especially in conditional use, we are the procedure.
Yeah. And so,
So I don't think it's as clear, I hear what you're saying, Karen, but I just want to think about this a little more because I think it's not a black and white thing, I think there's overlap.
Almost all land use code says on any procedure, almost in all of our land use code says the first step is you have to go through the town staff. You have to go through the town staff. Nothing in our land use code says you go straight to DRC. All of it starts with town staff, every single thing. So that's where we're starting. That's what the code says. That's where the direction is. Now, with things changing and now having a DRC, obviously there's going to need to be adjustments at the town staff level. I don't think the land use code needs any more clarification in it other than you need to go see town staff. Who that person is, when they get to see them, how they go about getting an appointment with them, that should all be handled by the town staff. We don't need to be inserting ourselves in. I understand it's a problem, and it's a problem not because anyone's doing anything wrong, but because our process has evolved and changed. And so with any change, we're going to have to adjust to make it fair and equitable. And there's going to be some rough spots that have to be ironed out. I'm just saying this should not be ironed out at the land use level. This should be ironed out at the meet with town staff level.
All right, thank you. Larry, do you have any thoughts?
Yes, I'm looking at this and it's just a 2-page ordinance. And I feel like we're talking about something other than what I'm reading. It says now that the policy of the town, unless I'm reading this wrong, it says, whereas it is the policy of the town when an unlisted use is requested to offer an applicant a place on the planning and zoning agenda to discuss the request and amend the land use code to include that unlisted use, which seems like a reasonable way to take care of this problem. But the line below that says that it's the town's intention to expressly prohibit uses which are listed as, or not listed. So there are a lot of new businesses have evolved over the years, and things that we never even thought of are going to be, we're going to have people apply for that.
Yeah.
I don't think we should tell them that they can't do it. I don't know why it just doesn't, they don't have an option to, hey, let's discuss this. And
And they do. They do.
I
So-
think,
I
Larry,
have that question as well, and it says, where did you have that? You read it to me during the hearing.
I'm sorry, I didn't have a question.
It's, where they say that if they disagree, they can go to,
Oh yeah, it's right in the ordinance, in the first paragraph of the actual change to the ordinance.
are we missing a page?
Larry?
yes,
Larry,
yes,
I think the disconnect is right, it's in the gray area, right? It's in the, hey, we have this use, but take general store. Okay, we got a general store listed in our, say we had a general store listed in our permitted uses. But somebody came in and put in an application for a grocery store, right?
okay,
They look at that and they look at our ordinance and they say, well, there's no grocery store listed in permitted uses. There's no grocery store listed in conditional uses. And then they go down to the prohibited and they read that and they say, oh, okay, I'm not prohibited from putting a grocery store in here. So they go back up to the permitted uses and they say, oh, I see this general store is listed as permitted here. What they're going to say is, my grocery store is of similar type and impact as that general store. Therefore, I should be allowed to build my grocery store because it's not expressly prohibited. And what case law says typically on these things is, yes, you should be allowed to do that because it's not specifically prohibited. And so what I'm arguing is, we cannot force those people to come to planning and zoning and request a change of land use for a use that would be deemed by the courts to be permitted. We need a process in place where a lawyer or a town manager or whoever that person is can say, oh, you're right, this is a similar use and impact as this permitted use. It should be allowed because it's not specifically prohibited. That's my argument.
And my
Hopefully that
concern-
helped.
And my
I think
concern-
I think I agree with you in that there needs to be an avenue where a new business or a different type of business should be heard. But when I'm reading this, it sounds like if we said, yes, we want to push this through, it eliminates any options of if it's not listed, you just can't do it, is how I'm reading it. And I would obviously want to vote against that and figure out a way that we can,
Right, Larry. That's kind of a catch-all phrase, and really, unless we have an extensive list of prohibited uses, that catch-all phrase is almost useless. Not completely, but almost useless. So I'm not worried about the catch-all phrase. It may or may not hold up to any type of scrutiny in the future if someone was to get a lawyer involved, but I'm just talking about the requiring everyone if it's not specifically permitted or conditional, they have to go to planning and zoning. That's my holdup on this.
And I see your point, and I think that we could change that to say, the town attorney or the director of community development, whose name I keep not remembering. And the town attorney would just be until we had our director, and then, I mean, that's just a couple of months, right? So then we could remove the town attorney from that language and, go on like that. I mean.
I-
I-
Listen, I don't, I'm not, I don't like the going back and fixing it later because it almost never happens and then codes become convoluted. And I've been in there too. I'm as guilty as anyone of not going back, right, and changing things that needed to be changed. There was a myriad of contradictions in our code because, oh, we're just going to go back and change it later. But if you have to have something in there, then just put it under the town staff level. Say, hey, town staff level, a determination of feasibility is made at the town staff level. Like, I don't think we need to name a person. We name town staff. That gives the mayor and town staff the ability to discuss who would best fit that role at any given time and assign them by proclamation. So, if you wanted to change it to language like that, then I would be fine with that. And you just put that under town staff's role because that's where everything starts anyway.
Um,
Okay, there's some confusion about versions or no ordinances.
I don't know, you look, here, maybe I'll look at the wrong one.
I remember that at the last meeting, you couldn't find that paragraph either. I'm sorry, Cameron. Could you say
Well,
what language?
here's my concern. And it's just something that I'm not, I'm open to how we get to this end. But I don't want a full-scale huge lens built in Virgin under the guise of a general store.
Right.
Okay.
And how, let me finish.
Mhm.
And how do we craft code and procedure to account for that? Because that, we are also accountable to the desires of business, but also balancing that with the desires of our community, of course. And that's already, I can see community members are already, I mean, they're defined the small one, but so often, we're promised one thing, and then by the end of the project, it's something different.
So we need to look at building signs too.
And that might be one way to do it.
That's- Sorry.
Actually, let's see.
So may I address that? So what does it matter? So we're taking this example of a grocery store, right? What's the
Yes.
difference between a general store that's the size of Lynn's as a grocery store that's the size of Lynn's? Because they have the same impact. That's why we regulate the size of the buildings. That's why we regulate the density. And we have that in the commercial zone. We have a maximum size in the commercial zones that's smaller than residential, especially when all these residents are building garages that are bigger than their houses.
Unless you get bonuses.
Yeah, and then you can get some bonuses, and then you're like the same size as a house with a garage.
Well, I mean, if we're going through uses, it'll be easy to say general/grocery store, maximum size, blah, blah, blah. I mean, if you're okay with some uses being in bigger buildings and others not, then you could do that.
All right.
Yeah, that's
Any other
correct.
comments?
I agree with that, Lee. If we want some uses that say, hey, look, this is a higher impact use. So for this zone, even though we allow for bigger buildings for this particular use, because it's a higher impact use, we want to limit its size. And I'm perfectly fine with doing that, right? No arguments from me there. I'm again, bring it back to this thing. I think I've made my point clear what I'm against.
I only understand that you think that this is doing something that actually should be done by the town council, simply directing the staff not to allow it to happen until someone has gotten the okay from the appropriate staff member, right?
Yeah. My solution to this is fix the town staff thing. And if it makes us feel better that there's some language in there that says a determination of feasibility or compatibility must be made or something like that, then that's fine. Because we have to allow for that, right? We have to allow for the fact that there are unusual, weird uses, but that they are similar in impact and similar in use to other things that we are permitting. And we can't be denying people the right to do that.
My only concern is like staff hopefully would have a sense of the community and the desires of the people and be familiar with their general plan. But I'm not sure Rocky Mountain Power would.
Right, exactly,
And that's my concern.
yeah.
So see, here's why it needs to be town staff. Because if it is a permitted use, if we've determined that something is a permitted use, those are the only things not coming before planning and zoning. So if we've determined that is a permitted use and we've outlined structures around it, right, that the town wants, and someone comes in with a use that is similar, that is not a political decision. That is an administrative decision that needs to be made administratively. That's
Yes.
why it needs to be town staff. That's why it needs to be a town manager or the developing person or the town attorney. That's why they need to look at it and say, yeah, you're right. You're right, sir. It's not listed in our permitted uses, but it is similar to this one. We must let it go in.
And that's why it's important for us as a commission to have those permitted, conditional, and prohibited uses as robust as
Yes.
possible, and I think that is our task.
Yes, but.
Yes, no disagreement.
It used to be, and I would think still is, required rigorous training of planning commissions between administrative and legislative decisions. So, I mean, it's not that we can't make an administrative decision as long as we understand what the limits are.
I agree with you. I would wholeheartedly agree with you 100%, except for it. No matter how many trainings I go to, nothing like my training will never be to the level of the staff, because as many trainings as I've gone to, the clerk has been there way longer and gone to way more of those trainings than I have. The lawyer, he went to school for these kind of things. Like he does this every day. It's his job. So no matter how well trained the planning commission is, we are less trained than the town staff.
I agree.
All right, I want to move on.
One more. I mean, I just want to say, I'm perfectly okay with saying that, this determination should be made, and I don't mind saying it should be made not by the planning commission, but by the attorney or the director of community development. And when the director is here, it's going to be him. It's the attorney's not going to be the one sitting here in the office waiting for people to come in and ask for uses. So I think that would solve the problem, maybe. Anyway, done.
All right, item number 4. Fourth amendment draft? On this one. Let me see what notes I have here. I hope Larry and Cameron, you can see the changes which are highlighted in yellow based on comments, I think primarily from Cameron on our previous discussion. Does that
Again,
happen?
I wasn't able to access these documents.
Okay, I wish I would have known, I would have sent them to you.
Yeah, mine doesn't have any highlights in yellow other than the filling in the dates and such.
I mean, I printed it from SharePoint and I've got the highlights.
Are you looking at?
So I can tell you, Larry, where they are.
Okay,
The first one is line 116, I believe, am I correct?
I don't know, I can't find it yet.
It's in our work folder.
It's just so hard to get to SharePoint.
line 116 says posted via Class A notice.
What are you looking at the PDF version or the Word version?
That's what I was gonna say, maybe it's looking at PDF, which is clean.
I don't know, it's numbered. I don't know what version the numbered version is, but
Well, 1604, permit required, number 2, exception for low impact, halfway down. The commission shall make. Does that help?
I don't think I have that at all. My next item is,
Oh, sorry, no, I'm right, number 4.
yeah, I don't have number 4 in front of me. So my apologies.
Okay. Well, Lee, do you want to go over these modifications you made based on discussions?
Soon as I find it.
Here.
The reason was I wasn't worried about getting them is because I thought they would also be posted on the town website like they were at the last meeting.
Work meetings. Work meetings
So-
are not camera.
Yeah,
So, if I can help you get back on SharePoint, let me know. Crystal, we have a tech guy who can help me with that as well, correct?
Yeah, we're gonna have to arrange. Or he can call Brandon and he can log in, reset SharePoint on his computer.
So can you access your Outlook, or you could text or email him that number, contact information? He is very helpful. When I got locked out, Cameron, he'll get you in no time.
Yeah.
Underlying part is under 1604, permit required. It says exception for low impact CUP. A permit for a low impact CUP may be allowed if the planning and zoning commission makes the findings described under section 16.06.1 below, ensuring that the requested use does not significantly change the original impacts to town resources, nor create any potential for additional nuisance beyond that of permitted uses in the zone. Then added, the commission shall make every effort to determine the application qualifies for low impact CUP at its first regular meeting following receipt of complete application. If more information is required, the commission may postpone one meeting or condition the decision upon receipt of required documentation.
And what is your reasoning for adding that, for making that change, do you recall?
I wish I could remember.
I think it was, making it quicker.
Yeah,
for the
that was it.
applicant, so it's less burdensome, because that was the concern.
Yes,
Because the point of this is not to make it burdensome.
exactly. So every effort to make the determination at the first regular meeting after the application, so, yes.
And then line 319, which is, general CUP review criteria. Before it said exterior lighting complies with the lighting standards of the zone. And, that was changed to lighting complies with the lighting standards of the municipal code to reflect the new lighting ordinance.
Yes.
And then on 1622, general standards for conditional uses. Standard, the safety of people and or property conditions, traffic control. Instead of minimizing something.
It used to say it's minimizing traffic flows, and we had a discussion here. And as a result of that, I changed it to say minimizing any traffic flows which are disruptive to neighboring uses.
Correct. I remember that discussion. And then, I think you'll remember this one, Cameron, you're confused on the standard neighborhoods and the general plan.
Yeah,
And it should have been just general plan, so that change was
that's
made.
been removed.
And instead of avoid redundancy of use, comma, adding, avoid redundancies of use adjusting as town grows. And that came out of our gas station discussion,
Yes.
right? Okay, and that is all the changes to it.
So I'll just, and we don't have to spend a long time on this. I've already stated my opinion on it. If we're gonna do a low impact use that does not require a public hearing or public input, then the process should not involve planning and zoning. It should involve staff. It should just go through staff.
It's the determination.
Under this, the planning commission does. Determines whether it's low impact or not. Go ahead.
I like the transparency of this approach. I don't know if I'm 100% there, but I like it because I just remember when we had a level 1 CUP and a level 2 CUP, and it didn't go before planning and zoning. I've talked to people who were, how did that happen?
Right.
I didn't know about that. You know? And then, and once again, it goes back to responsibility, balancing responsibilities to developers, businesses, to those of our residents.
No, I think a lot of these things will change once we have that director of community development and he's learned our code. But as far as my belief is that the planning commission knows our code better than anybody else. And that, transparency is super important after some of the things that have happened kind of in the background and people were surprised by.
Whether- Or it felt that way, whether it did or not.
Right,
It
right.
felt that way. As a result of this discussion about this, there was a discussion about just, hey, let's make our permitted uses and our conditional uses more explicit. And I charged the commission with looking at the uses in commercial and just starting to brainstorm. And, I know it's a busy time of year, but has anyone been able to begin that process? I dabbled with it.
I only made that long
Long
list of research.
Cameron and Larry, were you able to dabble with this at all?
I couldn't tell what you said. I apologize.
Yeah,
No
I can't
worries.
hear what's being discussed either. I'm trying to read the transcript, but it's,
Oh, I'm sorry, is this better?
yes.
Okay, I'll get really close. All right, so I don't know if you recall in our last meeting, I said, okay, let's look at commercial and let's come up with some ideas for revising and updating prohibited, permitted, and conditional uses. And I was just asking, you know, did either of you have any time to do that or begin that process? It's a busy time of year, but if we haven't done it, I would like to have us come to our next work meeting with some ideas. Looking at other, as Kent so rightly pointed out, looking at other cities, you know? And looking at what they allow, and does that fit, you know, our vision, the vision for Virgin, does that match with our proposed general plan? You know, and start gathering these things, and if you see something in another zone, add that too. I could put a document in our SharePoint, and you could just do this physically and hand it to me, and I put it on the document, but just a simple chart,
Yeah,
permitted, conditional, prohibited, and then our zones.
and then, but really your homework for us was to start coming up with some
Correct.
standards for each of the conditional uses so that we could move toward making more of them permitted. And we also need to do that, but that's a different.
It's a big task, it's a big task. Because I think our most active zone, I think is going to be commercial. My feeling is we should really dig into that one and look at chapter 8 and what standards we currently have, and look at chapter 40. And see what's there, and maybe cross-check things. And then just spend time at each meeting revisiting that idea. What are we coming up with? What did we notice? What do we need? What is no longer necessary?
Yes.
All right?
So
Go ahead.
I have reviewed the uses. I did review the uses. And I don't see the need for big changes. I mean, maybe there's a line or two, but I don't see a need for a big change to the uses in the zone, other than if we do want to write some standards so that they're permitted instead of conditional, right? But listen, this commercial zone, I don't know if you all remember how we ended up with the commercial zone that we had, but I will tell you a little bit of a backstory on how we got this zone, right? So obviously when Mayor Spendlove got elected, they made a lot of changes. And a bunch of the changes were to the commercial zone. So when we were working on getting this commercial zone together and getting it prepared and before the town, we came up with a model. We had a public hearing on it. It was probably not well received by about 60% of the people that saw it. It was passed by town council anyway, and then a referendum was filed on it. Once that referendum was filed, the town council went ahead and they went back and they nullified their vote. And then planning and zoning and a group of the people that had filed the referendum on it got together. We collaborated and we made changes to uses, to restrictions, setbacks, all those type of things. And we made a bunch of changes to the ordinance. And then when that was done, we resubmitted it, and then town council voted on it and passed it. So this ordinance is probably the ordinance within our code that has had the most scrutiny. Now that was, 6 years ago. That was 6 years ago. So some time has passed, and it would be good to revisit it again. But this ordinance has had a lot of input from a broad spectrum of people, including people that had originally filed a referendum against changes.
Well, I read this thing almost every week. I do think we need to revisit all of our uses, especially in light of our previous discussion about similarity of uses. And as we go through these, we need to think about, well, what would be considered similar? Do we need to be more specific? I see a problem, or I see a concern for me. We were just talking about, where did it go? That maximum size can be up to 12,000 square footprint. And if that's a two-story building, that's a 24,000.
What?
Yeah, it's footprint, not total square feet, it's footprint. And that's why we're gonna have a two-story restaurant instead of one restaurant, there will be two. This is the kind of things that I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
So I do, underground parking is a 5,000, I think we need to revisit this. I do think there are some things that, and East Snow gave me one, I made a note of it, I thought I made a note of it on, let me look at the town council regular meeting. Use is not listed, act prohibited. He gave me a really good one, and I know I wrote it down, and I just need to read through all of this to find it. But I said, can you give me an example? No, I know, I can just go re-listen. And, he did, and that was at the, might have been at the work meeting. And that's the one. So it's an I know. But I think it needs to be gone through, just knowing what we've gone through, as we have our growth. And with that lens, what do we want to keep? What do we want to modify? What do we want to add? What do we want to get rid of? That kind of stuff. And I agree, it's been long enough that it needs to be revisited. So if we could charge ourselves to do that, it's not a super long ordinance. You need access to it, ask. And then with that one, I would also recommend 16H supplementary qualifying regulations. Just scan through, read that for the standards. And make sure, based on the input we've gotten from the public, the requests we've had from developers, is it still sufficient? And let's come back again in August and have maybe a 20-minute discussion about that. What do you think of that, Vanessa?
I want to point out a couple of things real quick, and it's fine. We can have a more in-depth discussion about this zone, but I noticed that all your complaints had nothing to do with uses thus far, at least that you've vocalized. Those are other specifics in the zone, and sure, let's revisit them. But we should also look at why those things are in there the way they are. And we should also look at, what are the other requirements? So what do they have to actually do in order to get 12,000 square foot footprint? All right. And then we need to also look at that and say, oh yeah, well, that's true. Then we also need to look at what size of parcel would they have to have in order to get that size of square footprint. So it's without putting the 12,000 square foot into context, it sounds terrible. But if you put it more into context and you look at the broader picture, I think you may still dislike it, right? And we can talk about that. But I think if you put it into a broader picture, then the idea of 12,000 square feet doesn't look so terrible.
And we can have that discussion, and I probably will disagree that 12,000, because I'm looking at, the two convenience stores are about 5,000. So almost 2.5 times that size.
Yeah.
There's
Which convenience?
either one, they're about the same size.
Where are the convenience stores?
The Breed and the other gas station. Okay,
So it's not 2.5 times that size. 12,000 square feet is just over 2, right? Just barely over 2.
2,500, 10,000,
5,000. Yes, it's under 2.5.
I said it was nearly. So, yeah.
So,
Stand
but you
by
need,
that.
but you have to look at it in the broader context,
No,
like,
but I'm just saying,
there's
I
other,
think we should consider
there's
it.
other
You know,
things.
it's still a large amount, and the word there, footprint. And the allowing of, you know, they can put 2 stories, you've doubled that. So I do think it needs to be thought about again, and it may stay the same, I don't know, but I think it's worth relooking at. That's all I'm saying. So if we could do that in preparation for commercial uses, standards, and just a general review, because that's kind of size, location, commercial, there's size there. It's just, I think it's worth a review. We have parking there, which we may want to rethink about where parking is. I know that's part of the discussion in commercial. Right now, it is side or front of each land use. And,
Right.
it's contiguous.
Do you,
Those things we need. Yeah, some people are talking about putting parking behind the building, especially if you want it to be walkable.
that was a change specifically made to the ordinance because of the referendum. Originally, the ordinance had parking in the back, but because of the referendum, it was put in the front and side. So it was put there in support of the town, not in spite of the town.
And I know you made no comment about that, but I'm just saying that, I've heard a discussion about that. And it's worth revisiting. Okay. All right. And chapter 8. Last one is, Kansas Walk stepping out.
Well, somebody knocked on the door, we thought,
Oh,
or did you do this?
I don't think so. There's ghosts. 5 is the ordinance amending title 16 to include definition of parking lots, prohibiting commercial or public parking lots in all zones. Inserting section 4411 prohibited uses, including municipal parking lots as a conditional use in all zones. And in previous conversation, Cameron, could not.
That was it.
Oh, it was my pencil. It was my pencil. It was my pencil. Pointed out, he didn't see a difference between municipal and commercial, except when the town was making money. And we tried to explain our perspective.
I have more to say about that. I have more to say about that.
Yeah, I thought we could maybe talk a little more about that, maybe come to some consensus. And also, parking is, the shuttle. There is a permitted use of a shuttle that was put in the code.
I thought it says shuttle stop.
Stop.
Did it say shuttle? No.
It would be just in, Highway Resort, if I recall correctly, so let me get to that chapter.
There's 40 and 44.
I can see it in 40.
40,
But I could be wrong. Which one?
40, 10, C.
Oh, conditional use, if I looked at conditional use, it says shuttle stops. And why that was put in is,
Because the park was considering letting, or the park shuttle was potentially going to start including Virgin in their route.
which apparently never happened.
It never happened.
Decided to leave it. So therefore, it's not needed anymore. And that's one that I would put on my list of things to be taken out.
Yes.
But on this one,
But we want to allow bus stops, right? Don't we want?
but that's municipal. Parking lot.
Right, well, not, parking lot and a bus stop are two entirely different things.
Well, then we need another word. We need to, in light of it's similar use. How can we,
What, a sea of cars versus a bench and a pull-out? I don't see the similarity.
or additional language describing that specifically?
Okay,
I think on some of these where there could be ambiguity, like some of these things afterwards, like trail riding staging, in the parentheses, they have different comments.
oh, yeah,
And
like I was saying, grocery store, maximum.
under
size.
studios, they have examples. You know,
Right.
I don't know if that's something we wanna do.
I mean, well, as we said before, some uses would be fine in the zone if they had some limitation on them. And rather than make it conditional, we could put the limitation right in the language, in the list, parentheses, no bigger than 10 square feet. And then, we wouldn't have to worry about that. But there's still gonna be uses that we don't think of.
Correct.
But, I think once we have the right
And that's where that process comes.
staff member to make those kind of decisions, it will be easy.
Any further discussion on this, children?
I do want to say
Okay.
that, I think that I looked around to see where the fees go for parking in places where they charge fees. And most of them go to the municipality or the city or the county or whatever. And some of them are used to, support public transportation. Some of them are used to just maintain, build and maintain, I guess, a lot. But, I think that if we're going to allow municipal parking lots, that, because we want to help business owners by making Virgin a destination, not a place to park your car, is my opinion. So I think that, if we write standards for a municipal parking lot, we would include that the lot should have a permeable surface, so that it doesn't increase runoff or contamination, or, well, it still will contaminate a little bit, but, anyway, or, heat, like parking lots do. And I think that the municipality would do a gravel or an expensive permeable surface, of some kind more easily than business owner would do, who would have to do his whole lot that way. I also think that if we attach a fee, it would be limited to enough to cover costs. And I think that residents and local business owners should get a free pass to park there. And, yeah.
Okay,
that's
can I make a comment? Are we good?
Sure.
Sorry, this is really hard, the Zoom meeting thing, and I apologize if I'm cutting people off or being rude. That's not my intent.
You're not being rude.
So if you're saying, hey, who owns most parking meters, that's going to be cities, right? But if you say who owns the most parking lots for paid parking, that's not going to be cities. Eh, the airports, paid parking. If you go to Vegas, you're paying for parking, you're not paying the city, right? If you got like major public transportation, like in Salt Lake, there are some public parking spots where you pay the city. But other than that, it's all done privately. And I'm fine if the town wants to do parking meters, and I'm fine if the town wants to put in a parking lot. I'm not saying prohibit it. I am saying all my argument was the town should not forbid a commercial entity from doing something that the town itself is allowed to do. That is creating an artificial monopoly. That is the town making regulation to make it the sole provider for a thing. And towns should not, governments, towns, anyone should not do that. Monopolies are bad. That's my only point. I agree, and we agreed in the last meeting. We don't want Virgin to be a parking lot for everyone to go to Springdale. That's why I said, let's make a rule that if you're having paid parking for a parking lot, it's in concert with your business. So that we don't just have straight parking lots. And I'm fine with that. And if we need to look at the regulations to how a parking lot, how any parking lot in the town, in a zone, we're going to look at the commercial zone. If we want to look at that and say, how are they doing their parking lots? What can we do to make this better for the citizens of Virgin and still allow the business to have its parking spaces? And we look at that and we say, hey, I think we already have regulations in there to that extent. Like a parking lot can't be more than 100 feet long without having landscaping to break it up. So I'm fine with making regulations for parking lots. What I'm not fine with is the town going in and making itself the sole monopolistic provider of parking.
And I disagree, but I think that there's some things that infrastructure wise, that it's actually better for government to take care of than and I'm afraid that anything that enlarges parking lots is kind of a negative thing. So that's it, meaning paved parking lots.
And we can put limits on the size, and we can put limits on what they can have as paid parking. And I agree with you that there's some things that the government should do. Paid parking is not one of those things. I just don't. Virgin does not have a public transportation system that we're trying to support. Virgin does not provide that service. The reason why governments provide public transportation is because it's a cost suck. It doesn't make money. Commercial people don't do it, except for the very, very expensive ones. And so, yeah, the government should help provide public transportation. Virgin's not providing that.
No, but Virgin, one of the rules, I would hope, would be that Virgin wouldn't charge unless it had to.
Yeah, and if Virgin wants to say, hey, we got some public parking right down here at our municipal building, we have this many slots, it's cheaper than the public parking up the street, you can come park here. Fine. I don't have a problem with the municipality doing that. If someone comes along and says, help, we're gonna put some meters up and down I-15 or up and down Highway 9, like Springdale did, I'm not happy with that, but if the town decides at some point that that's what they're gonna do, okay, I don't like it, but okay, that they can do that. All I'm saying is don't make it a monopoly.
If the town's not making any money on it, how, I can really see that being an issue, but, okay.
Whether the town makes money or not, it's still a monopoly. That's like a town saying, hey, we have public transportation. We're gonna ban all taxis. And you have to use the town's public transportation. It's the same difference.
Yes.
Karen, when you say in concert with your business, I can see that's something that is currently in place with commercial businesses here in town. And, maybe, and there's lots of examples of hosting and restaurants, et cetera, that have their own parking. Are you saying that in concert with business should be the way of providing parking, or would that eliminate someone who says, I want to have a parking lot business? Would you be in favor of somebody putting up a parking lot?
Right, no, look,
I didn't mean to say, I didn't
I
mean
am,
to say, take Paradise, put up a parking lot, I didn't mean to say that. But
yeah, to answer your question, Kent, yes, I'm in favor of saying, hey, you know what? Virgin is not just going to allow a parking lot to come in here. I'm in favor of Virgin saying that exact thing. We're not gonna let you take this, we'll just take we just talked the zone change. We're not gonna let you take that area and just turning it into a parking lot for people to park and ride a shuttle up to Zion. We're not going to allow you to do that. But what I am in favor of is if this guy comes in, he says, hey, look, I want to build this general store. I'm going to build this general store and a couple of restaurants. But it's going to be hard for me to get foot traffic into my business because there's just not foot traffic in Virgin right now. So I'm going to partner with, or I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to partner with this other group that wants to put some paid parking in. And I'm going to put that and I'm going to integrate it into my parking for my general store and for my restaurants. And Virgin says, oh, yeah, this is what I'm in favor of. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that to X extent. You can have this many more than the parking you need, or however we decide to regulate that so that it's not just a huge parking lot behind a store, right? And we regulate it to some extent. That helps the business owner. Now he's creating his own foot traffic to his business because people are paying to park there and the buses don't run every 15 minutes around here. So people are going to get there early. They're going to have time. They're going to go use his facilities and then they're going to take the shuttle and go up. So that creates foot traffic for his business. It can help his business. Maybe, that's up to him for them to decide, but it seems to me that it can help their business. And it also provides parking for people. And yes, I'm not saying we'll just let them build as big as they want. No, I don't agree with that either. But we're not forbidding them from doing a small portion as paid parking.
I don't know that I agree with that, but, that's an interesting concept. But I can see where as we grow business-wise commercially, businesses are going to be required, I believe, by our code to provide adequate parking for their businesses.
Yes.
And, to say, well, it's gonna be okay if you wanna add a few extra with a meter so that people jumping on and off the shuttle to, or the county bus to the park can park and you can make a little money. I'm not there yet, but I think that's a long ways down the road, but I'm not there. I think how we're gonna handle that is hard to say at this point, and until we see some statistics and some changes in how many people are already doing it. But that's another story down the road. But I like your idea and your concept of saying, hey, we already got this. We've got businesses that are required to have parking for their businesses. And it's gotta be adequate for their motel or their convenience store. And that's gonna provide for commercial parking. That doesn't address the issue of, are we going to address, or do we need to address? And I like what you said, Cameron, you said something about, hey, we can code out people having a parking meter or a parking lot for, the county bus, to go to Zion. We can carve that out and say that's not a permitted use in our community. Because I think you said that, is that correct?
Yeah, Ken, I am fine with cutting that out and saying, hey, look, we are not a parking lot. Virgin is not a parking lot. No one wants Virgin to be a parking lot. And I'm fine with saying, hey, look, no commercial parking lots that are specifically parking lots. And that's their only function. Now, I realize you're saying you're not on board with allowing another business that's already established. I don't understand why you're against that. And so I would like to hear why you're against that, why you're saying, you know what, you're running a restaurant right now, you're adequate parking for your, this is just an example, you're adequate parking for your restaurant based on your numbers is you need to have 30 parking spots. And I don't understand the problem with the municipal code or the land use code saying you can have 20% of your parking spaces be paid parking to ride the shuttle. And so instead of 30 parking spaces, now they have 36 parking spaces. They have 6 dedicated parking spaces that are metered. Like,
I see your point. It's just another little business,
Like-
with the business and another little way for revenues. And whether it's a lemonade stand outside or whether it's a parking meter, I don't see that's a big issue, but that's down the road. We're deciding how we're gonna deal with that.
right, I agree with you that that's down road of how we're going to decide how to do with that. But the issue facing us right here is we're just banning it. And I don't think that we should ban it outright.
Right.
Okay, I was going to say, I would happily vote for prohibiting any fee parking whatsoever. And that way, if there became a need, I mean, lots of cities and towns have parking garages and they
charge. I just looked up the same charge.
the charge, yes. Anyway, but I'm saying we could say no fee now and then we'll know what we need as time goes on, it might turn out that it's not even, that Springdale changes its mind. You know, who knows what'll happen.
Well, and I
But-
just think the
So-
cost of the family to park, right, the cost of the family to take the bus. I just don't know how used that would be, and we're trying to work towards already, correct me if I'm wrong, shared parking.
Yes,
And, this would contradict that.
No, it wouldn't.
It is an intriguing idea. Maybe we just ban commercial parking lots as a first step.
yeah, or ban fee parking lots, that way, whether it's municipal or not, that's the only, you can't have, you can't charge for parking.
So,
But what if
so,
you had free parking and a paid shuttle service for a parking lot? I would disagree with that.
Well, I mean,
It would end up the same thing.
I didn't mean to remove the prohibition of other parking lots, I just meant that we could change the municipal one so that the municipality cannot charge a fee. And then there would be no monopoly.
no, that's not true, though. That's not true, though. There's still a monopoly on who can have a parking lot, and the municipality is it. Whether you charge a fee or not, that's still a monopoly. Just because there's no money,
Or.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot wrap it around my mind. The impact of the parking lot is the same, whether the municipality does it or whether a commercial person does it. The impact is the same. If the town went out, say 5 years, 6 years down the road, a different mayor gets in, they're pro parking lot. They go, they hook up, they link up with the Water Conservancy District, the Water Conservancy District pro parking lot, and then they put in a ginormous parking lot. The impact is the same if the municipality does it or if a commercial person does it. The impact is the same.
I disagree.
I disagree because.
Because as a conditional use, you would have more leverage.
You make
Also
the commercial one, conditional too.
Well,
Like you are putting the same, oh my God.
excuse me. I mean, we can have a difference of opinion. And we're not always gonna agree.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We can have a difference of opinion, but you need to explain your opinion. You have not explained in any way how a condition, no, explain it to me again. I'm dumb. Apparently I'm stupid and I don't understand what you're saying to me.
Stop.
So let's say it slowly.
Hold on.
That's fine. You
So-
can stop me.
So Cameron, you have said this multiple times. I don't understand. Explain it to me. You still have, and we have explained it to you. You just don't hear our explanation.
So-
And you can hear it and you can still disagree. But whether it's Ken, Lee, Larry, me, you say that and we do explain it and, we do
Okay.
give you our viewpoint. And I'm sorry if that,
Okay.
we do not call you stupid. So I find that inappropriate.
I didn't say you called me stupid. I did
You
not
said,
say
well,
that.
you must
I
be
said-
stupid.
I said I called myself that. I said I must be. Put it in very simple terms, 3 bullet points. It is different for a municipality because the municipality does this, this, and this versus a commercial which cannot do those things.
One difference would be that the municipality would be required to prove need before even suggesting the expense of putting it in. Another
Okay,
difference
hold
would
on,
be-
hold on.
Wait, you said 3 bullet points, go.
Hold, I know, we got the first one. We got the first one. Let's stop at the first one. Okay, we're stopping at the first one, okay? Okay, no, listen. This is why,
Of completing her thought. We've listened quite a few minutes to you, okay? Lee,
Okay.
continue with your
Go
other
ahead.
points. Lee, continue with your other points.
Another difference might be that municipality would, that a business would be less likely to put expensive permeable surfacing on their entire parking lot just so that they could get 6 spaces to put a meter on. And the town would be required to use permeable surfacing. Those are the two that come to mind first.
okay,
Um,
okay, okay.
Okay.
I got those two. Okay, let me repeat them to make sure I'm understanding them. The first one you said is the town would be required to prove a need before they built it. Where does it say that in the code? Where
No, I'm
is that
suggesting
written?
Sorry, I'm suggesting, as I said earlier, that we would have to write standards for municipal parking lots. But we have plenty of time to do that because there's not going to be a need for a very long time. So,
Okay, okay. So what you're saying is that, let me understand, right? I'm trying to understand.
okay.
So your actual argument here is you want to stop all building of any parking lots until a code can be written. That's your actual argument.
No,
Of,
no.
of any parking lots that aren't associated with a business, yeah.
Okay, right. You just said you want to ban, you just said, okay, you said, I said, where does it show in the code that the municipality would have to prove a need? You said, it doesn't say that. We would write that into language for a municipality. We would write that into our code for a municipal parking lot. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what you're actually saying here, if I'm understanding it correctly, if I go 1 + 2 = 3, you're saying we don't have time to write an expansive code for parking lots. So we're just going to allow municipal ones to do it because the municipality won't be building one for a long time.
No, that's not what she said.
Did you not say that?
No.
So
I didn't say we wouldn't have to get right on it, but,
In reference to municipal standards.
right.
She in no way said that.
I mean,
I don't know where you're getting that other.
okay, no, okay, let's go back to the first point then. So I can track. Your first point was, what was your very first bullet? Repeat it again. The very first bullet.
All right, so
I think we're done.
if we have a productive conversation and a robust disagreement, that's great, but this is.
No, it's
obstructive.
not. I don't, no, this is not obstruction. I am sincerely trying to understand this. Obviously, you guys believe differently and you think different than me. I want to understand this, but I cannot, like, it's,
And what you reiterated to her is not what I heard.
so, exactly.
Maybe-
So I heard something different. So I need additional context so that I can understand how you're thinking about this. I am not trying to be obstructive. I am not trying to just make this meeting go on. I really don't have that much care about parking lots. But I do have care and concern for understanding people that think differently than me. And I'm just not getting there on
And
this
then
one.
asking a question rather than,
I am asking questions. I am asking questions, and then
You
when you
are
answer
asking-
them, then
you are
I show you,
demanding stuff.
then I show you, I ask questions,
All right.
and then I
so-
show you how I am thinking about it. I show you how
And
I
then
am
I
thinking
ask-
about it.
And then you asked, is that correct? And that is not what I heard. She
And so
didn't-
then I need,
She
then
didn't
I
say
need it.
anything about, oh, we gotta do this and all that kind of stuff. We don't have time to do it.
I didn't say, did I did not, I did not say that we didn't have time to do it. I said,
No, you did say that.
okay, well then then I just need it reiterated because that's what I heard. That's what I heard.
I make a suggestion that at this point, I don't think we're really moving forward. I think we may table this, not that it's not important, but that maybe the commissioners, can get together, to talk about what they mean, off the record and within regular boundaries, and that we move on.
That's our
Lee
last
is-
item.
I am happy to have this conversation offline. I think I need to have this conversation, and Lee, I'm happy to get with Lee whenever she is available. I will
Okay.
make time in my schedule to get with it, to understand this thinking. Because I am not trying to be obstinate. I really don't care that much, but I do care about understanding the thinking. And I cannot make the numbers add up for this discussion.
All right, well, we should have a phone conversation.
You can call me anytime.
Well, I'm retired and you work, so you better be more specific.
I'm serious. I walk around nearly all day. I walk around at work with an earpiece in my ear, either talking on the phone or listening to a podcast because I do mindless, brainless work pretty much all day long. So I am almost always free.
All righty.
Mindless, brainless must be hard for you.
Apparently it comes easy.
That was a compliment.
Can I get your number from Crystal?
My number is 435.
I'll carry it, I'll give it to Crystal.
All right, well, thank you.
Everyone has my number. I'll give it out I don't care if the whole town has it. I mean, I get calls from half the town anyway.
I know, but the video gets posted on Facebook, so I will,
The whole world have your number.
You may not want that, Kim. All right, well, this meeting is concluded. I don't even have any motion.
No,
All right.
open, so we don't have to close.
Happy.
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So.